So I'm going to invite Alex to the stage, the 3 Stoic pillars for a happy life.
Thank you, thank you. It's just a little prompt sheet there because 10 minutes is a little bit shorter than what I'd usually do. That made me sound really grouchy, and I'm not, I promise. So, yes, very briefly, I've been working as a therapist, I've done a coach, and I'm now sort of a research psychologist. I've been doing this and speaking on these topics for 9 years. And, yeah, I do think there is a little bit of a problem. And the problem is it's very easy to stand up in a stage like this or in a room like this or online or on YouTube and sell someone a really nice story and a really nice story about how certain things can completely, magically, wonderfully change your life when, unfortunately, that isn't always the case. So what I wanted to share with you in 10 minutes is what I think is just some good advice on how we can all get something that we all want, which is being happy and living a life that we're actually proud of living, which hopefully you're all into that, otherwise I'm in the wrong room. So, happiness. There are a few common mistakes we have when it comes to happiness, and those mistakes are, well, where we look for it. Primarily, especially in this country, we look for happiness through work, through achievement, through goals, through acquisition of goods. I mean, I don't know about you, but the new iPhone is coming out soon. Has anyone seen the adverts for this? Apple sells you happiness in the form of a phone. It's ridiculous. But we all seek it as well, and we also seek it through Facebook, through Instagram, through Twitter, through all these things, through displaying our own lives for everyone else to see. And it's not good. Whoever did the digital detox earlier, that was probably the best thing you could have done, because it's been shown over and over again in different validated studies that the more people use things like your mobile phone and social media, the lower your self-esteem is, the lower your self-confidence is, the lower your satisfaction with life is. It's really quite tragic. So what can we do about it? I say these are the 3 Stoic pillars to happiness. Why? Because Stoicism, if you don't know it, it's an ancient philosophy. It's, 300 BC in Athens it was started. It's one of the most influential philosophies in the world. It influenced a lot of early Judeo-Christian thinking. And it's getting a bit of a resurgence now, and it's been my great privilege over the last few years to research this from a psychological standpoint. So what I want to share with you is what I've found from my studies in this. The studies I've done have all been with people who are classed as high worriers. So clinically, if you were going to do research for the NHS, what you have to do is you have to evaluate someone. How nervous are you? How negatively do you think? How much do you worry about some things? And what we do is we take these people who are high worriers and we give them trainings. And I developed a training based on Stoic philosophy, and the results were actually they were quite something. So I want to share with you the 3 important practices. The first is something called the dichotomy of control. Now it's a boring name, I know. What this means is there are some things you can control and there are some things you can't. And we are sort of fooled every day into thinking we can control things that we can't. Silly things like whether we get a promotion at work, or whether somebody is going to think well of us, whether we're going to succeed on this date we're on, or whether we're going to have the money we want to have, or sometimes even whether we're going to be well or we're not going to be well. The Stoics knew instinctively that we can't control all these things. There's only 2 things we can control, which is the way we think and the way we act. And as long as that's the only thing we try and control, it doesn't mean you can't influence the other things, but as long as what you're really focusing on is that you're acting and thinking in the best way for you, in a way you can be proud of, in a way that actualizes your values, then you know what, a lot of stress just falls away because you're no longer trying to control something that is like catching smoke or catching water. You just can't do it. The second practice is a little bit counterintuitive, especially considering we're told a lot, think positively. You hear that? Just think positively. Things are going to be fine. Focus on success. But actually, that's a recipe for disaster, psychologically speaking. One of the best things you can do is wake up every morning and go, right, what's going to go wrong today? How am I going to be tripped up? How am I going to be miserable? Who's going to annoy me? What's going to go wrong? Now, you'd think if you give this to a lot of people who already have trouble worrying too much, they're going to go crazy, but they don't. They get better. It was phenomenal what we saw in just 10 days of training. You're seeing people who are reporting really high levels of what's called rumination, so repetitive negative thought. over a 10-day training process of practicing this every day, waking up and going, okay, what's going to go wrong today and how can I prepare for it? Their levels of rumination drops through the floor. The frequency of negative and anxious language they use just drops dramatically. It's incredible. So predict what's going to go wrong. And the third thing, and the most important practice you can put into place, is examine your judgments. Because we all tell ourselves stories every day. We are story-forming creatures. We tell ourselves stories about how we got here. We tell, and that can be literally in the sense of, well, I got the bus or I got the train and then I came here and then, so today I got the train, I came down to Brighton, I walked around and then I came here, I had a drink. That's my story of getting here. But we tell ourselves stories about what things mean, about what that look from our partner meant when we said something to them and they gave us the little, oh, what's that? We tell ourselves a story about what that means. Whenever our boss calls us into their office saying, look, I need to speak to you, we tell ourselves a story that means we're in trouble. We tell ourselves a story that we can't do a certain thing. So it's important that we catch those thoughts, that we recognize we're having them and we see them for what they are, which is a judgment we're making about the situation. It's just building a little bit of self-awareness. It's building just a moment, just a practice we have where we realize that maybe that thought we've had shouldn't be trusted. Maybe I'm seeing the world through a lens. Maybe what I'm thinking in here isn't the truth of the matter. We tend to add to these stories and build it without even thinking about it. The reason this practice is so important is because it just gives you a chance to gain some semblance of control back. So why are these the Stoic pillars for a happy life? Because we do see happiness as an acquisition of something. We think it's a feeling we feel right now. We think it's something we're meant to have every single day. But the reality of happiness is we look back on it. We remember being happy. We don't feel happy when we're out in a bar having a great party with our friends. We might feel joyful, we might feel pleasure, but we feel happy when we look back and we remember that, actually, you know what, I'm really glad I helped my friend move house the other day. Or I'm really glad that I went and did some voluntary work a month ago. We look back and we remember happiness, and real happiness, sustainable happiness, happiness that doesn't come from any external object but always sits with you, is in reality just a form of contentment and is a form of practice that every day you know you're doing the right things and you're just staying perfectly on this sort of little line of meeting the challenges that you face every day with just the right level of skill set. You're constantly challenged just enough, doing the right things that make you feel proud of who you are every day. That is the basis of Stoic happiness. It's called tranquility. And also, psychologically speaking, from the research at least I've done, and this mirrors a lot of other studies done on resilience out there, it's the best way to build resilience. Because I think Matt said this right earlier, you know, it's very good if you can make changes quite quick, and there's nothing wrong with therapy or nothing wrong with counseling. In fact, I've done a lot of it over the years. But actually what I think is more important is to not need it in the first place, because mental health is the buzzword at the minute, but I'm much preferring what it's becoming, which is mental fitness, something that you practice at and you do every single day. So no, it's not, Stoicism isn't a magic pill, because there are no magic pills, but I have to say from what I've seen and from what's currently available out there, it's one of the best forms of mental fitness you can do. How am I doing for time? Am I pretty much done? Have I got another minute? Oh my God, amazing. No, that is it. If you do want to come and learn a little bit more about Stoicism, I'm actually speaking at a Stoic conference. How fun does that sound? It's actually a lot of fun. I'm speaking at a Stoic conference in October, but if you want to come and learn a bit more, I do have a free handbook on this, which details a little bit more the sort of research I did and goes into more detail on those practices. Come and speak to me. I can give you that or send you an email about that. But that was it. Thank you very much.